Harry waited for the rest of the gang to move on before setting off again. When their voices had faded once more, he headed around the corner into Magnolia Crescent, and by walking very quickly, he soon came within hauling distance of Dudley, who was strolling along at his ease, humming tunelessly. "Hey, Big D!" Dudley turned.
"Oh,"
he grunted.
"It's you."
"How long have you been Big D, then?" said Harry.
"Shut it!"
snarled Dudley, turning away. "Cool name," said Harry, grinning, and falling into step beside his cousin. "But you'll always be Ickle that Diddykins to me."
"I said shut it,"
said Dudley, whose hand-like fist had curled into fists. "Don't the boys know that's what your mum calls you?"
"Shut your face!"
"You don't tell her to shut her face. What about Popkin and Dinky Diddydums? Can I use them, then?" Dudley said nothing. The effort of keeping himself from hitting Harry seemed to demand all his self-control. "So, who've you been beaten up tonight?" Harry asked, his grin fading. "Another 10-year-old? I know you did Mark Evans 2 nights ago."
"He was asking for it,"
snarled Dudley. "Oh, yeah?"
"He cheeked me."
"Yeah? Did he say you looked like a pig that's been taught to walk on its hind legs? 'Cause that's not cheek, Dud. That's true." A muscle was twitching in Dudley's jaw. It gave Harry enormous satisfaction to know how furious he was making Dudley. He felt as though he was siphoning off his own frustration into his cousin, the only outlet he had. They turned right down the narrow alleyway where Harry had first seen Sirius, and which formed a shortcut between Magnolia Crescent and Wisteria Walk. It was empty and much darker than the streets it linked because there were no street lamps. Their footsteps were muffled between garage walls on one side and a high fence on the other.
"Think you're a big man carrying that thing, don't you?"
Dudley said after a few seconds. "What thing?"
"That thing you're hiding."
Harry grinned again. "Not as stupid as you look, are you, Dud? But I suppose if you were, you wouldn't be able to walk and talk at the same time." Harry pulled out his wand. He saw Dudley look sideways at it.
"You're not allowed,"
Dudley said at once.
"I know you're not. You'd be expelled to that freak school you go to."
"How do you know they haven't changed the rules, Big D?"
"They haven't,"
said Dudley, though he didn't sound completely convinced.
"You haven't got the guts to take me on without that thing, have you?"
Dudley snarled. "Whereas you just need 4 mates behind you before you can beat up a 10-year-old. You know that boxing title you keep banging on about? How old was your opponent? 7? 8?
"He was 16 for your information,"
snarled Dudley.
"And he was out cold for 20 minutes after I'd finished with him, and he was twice as heavy as you. You just wait until I tell Dad you had that thing out."
"Running to Daddy, are you now? Is his ickle boxing champ frightened of Nasty Harry's wand?"
"Not this brave at night, are you?"
sneered Dudley. "This is night, Diddykins. That's what we call it when it goes all dark like this.
I mean when you're in bed,
Dudley snarled. He had stopped walking. Harry stopped too, staring at his cousin from the little he could see of Dudley's large face. He was wearing a strangely triumphant look. "What do you mean I'm not brave in bed?" said Harry, completely nonplussed. "What, am I supposed to be frightened of pillows or something?"
I heard you last night,
said Dudley breathlessly,
talking in your sleep, moaning.
"What do you mean?" Harry said again, but there was a cold plunging sensation in his stomach. He had revisited the graveyard last night in his dreams. Dudley gave a harsh bark of laughter, then adopted a high-pitched whimpering voice.
"Don't kill Cedric! Don't kill Cedric!" "Who's Cedric? Your boyfriend?" "You're lying," said Harry automatically, but his mouth had gone dry. He knew Dudley wasn't lying. How else would he know about Cedric? "Dad! Help me, Dad! He's going to kill me, Dad! Boo-hoo!"
"Shut up," said Harry quietly. "Shut up, Dudley. I'm warning you."
"Come and help me, Dad! Mom, come and help me! He's killed Cedric, Dad! Help me! He's going to— Don't you point that thing at me!"
Dudley backed into the alley wall. Harry was pointing the wand directly at Dudley's heart. Harry could feel 14 years of hatred of Dudley pounding in his veins. What wouldn't he give to strike now? To jinx Dudley so thoroughly he'd have to crawl home like an insect. Struck dumb, sprouting feelers. "Don't you ever talk about that again," Harry snarled. "Do you understand?
Point that thing somewhere else!
I said, do you understand me?
Point it somewhere else!
Do you understand me?
Get that thing away from me!"
Dudley gave an odd shuddering gasp, as though he had been doused in icy water. Something had happened to the night. The star-strewn indigo sky was suddenly pitch black and lightless. The stars, the moon, the misty street lamps at either end of the alley had vanished. The distant rumble of cars and the whisper of trees had gone. The balmy evening was suddenly piercingly, bitingly cold. They were surrounded by total impenetrable darkness. Silent and deadly. As though some giant hand had dropped a thick icy mantle over the entire alleyway, blinding them. For a split second, Harry thought he had done magic without meaning to, despite the fact he had been resisting as hard as he could. Then his reason caught up with his senses. He didn't have the power to turn off the stars. He turned his head this way and that, trying to see something, but the darkness pressed on his eyes like a weightless veil. Dudley's terrified voice broke into Harry's ears.
"What are you doing? Stop it!"
"I'm not doing anything. Shut up and don't move."
"I can't see! I've got blind!
I said shut up!" Harry stood stock still, turning his sightless eyes left and right. The cold was so intense, he was shivering all over. Goosebumps had erupted up his arms, and the hairs on the back of his neck were standing up. He opened his eyes to their fullest extent, staring blankly around, unseeing. It was impossible. They couldn't be here. Not in Little Whinging. He strained his ears. He would hear them before he saw them.
Dad!
Dudley whimpered.
Where are you? What are you... Will you shut up?
Harry hissed.
I'm trying to listen.
But he fell silent. He had heard just the thing he had been dreading. There was something in the alleyway apart from themselves. Something that was drawing long, hoarse, rattling breaths. Harry felt a horrible jolt of dread as he stood trembling in the freezing air.
Cut it out! Stop doing it! I'll hit you! I swear I will! Dudley, shut up!
Wow! A fist made contact with the side of Harry's head, lifting him off his feet. Small white lights popped in front of his eyes. For the second time in an hour, Harry felt as though his head had been cleaved in two. Next moment, he had landed hard on the ground, and his wand had flown out of his hand.
You moron, Dudley!
Harry yelled, as his eyes watering with pain. As he scrambled to his hands and knees, feeling around frantically in the blackness. He heard Dudley blundering away, hitting the alley fence, stumbling.
Dudley, come back! You're running right at it!
There was a horrible squealing yell, and Dudley's footsteps stopped. The same moment, Harry felt a creeping chill behind him. That could only mean one thing. There was more than one.
Dudley, keep your mouth shut! Whatever you do, keep your mouth shut! Wand!
Harry muttered frantically, his hands flying all over the ground like spiders.
Where's Wand? Come on! Lumos!
He said the spell automatically, desperate for light to help him in his search. And to his disbelieving relief, light flared inches from his right hand. The wand tip had ignited. Harry snatched it up, scrambled to his feet, and turned around. His stomach turned over. A towering, hooded figure was gliding smoothly towards him, hovering over the ground, no feet or face visible beneath its robes, sucking on the night as it came. Stumbling backwards, Harry raised his wand.
EXPECTO PATRONUM!
A silvery wisp of vapor shot from the tip of his wand, and the Dementor slowed. But the spell hadn't worked properly. Tripping over his own feet, Harry retreated further as the Dementor bore down upon him, panic fogging his brain.
Concentrate!
A pair of gray, slimy, scabbed hands slid from inside the Dementor's robes, reaching for him. A rushing noise filled Harry's ears.
EXPECTO PATRONUM!
His voice sounded dim and distant. Another wisp of silver smoke, feebler than the last, drifted from the wand. He couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't work the spell. There was laughter inside his own head. Shrill, high-pitched laughter. He could smell the Dementor's putrid, death-cold breath, filling his own lungs, drowning him.
Think something happy.
But there was no happiness in him. The Dementor's icy fingers were closing on his throat. The high-pitched laughter was growing louder and louder, and a voice spoke inside his head.
Bow to death, Harry. It might even be painless. I would not know. I have never died.
He was never going to see Ron and Hermione again. And their faces burst clearly into his mind as he fought for breath.
EXPECTO PATRONUM!
An enormous silver stag erupted from the tip of Harry's wand. Its antlers caught the Dementor in the place where the heart should have been. It was thrown backwards, weightless as darkness. And as the stag charged, the Dementor swooped away, bat-like and defeated.
This way!
Harry shouted at the stag, wheeling around. He sprinted down the alleyway, holding the lit wand aloft.
Dudley! Dudley!
He had run barely a dozen steps when he reached them. Dudley was curled up on the ground, his arms clamped over his face. A second Dementor was crouching low over him, gripping his wrists in its slimy hands, prizing them slowly, almost lovingly apart, lowering its hooded head towards Dudley's face, as though about to kiss him.
Get it!
Harry bellowed. With a rushing, roaring sound, the silver stag he had conjured came galloping past him. The Dementor's eyeless face was barely an inch from Dudley's when the silver antlers caught it. The thing was thrown up into the air, and like its fellow, it soared away and was absorbed into the darkness. The stag cantered to the end of the alleyway and dissolved in the silver mist. Moon, stars, and street lamps burst back into life. A warm breeze swept the alleyway. Trees rustled in the neighboring gardens. The mundane rumble of cars in Magnolia Crescent filled the air again. Harry stood quite still, all his senses vibrating, taking in the abrupt return to normality. After a moment, he became aware that his t-shirt was sticking to him. He was drenched in sweat. He could not believe what had just happened. Dementors. Here, in Little Wingjing. Dudley laid curled up on the ground, whimpering and shaking. Harry bent down to see whether he was in a fit state to stand up. But then he heard loud running footsteps behind him, instinctively raising his wand again. He spun on his heel to face the newcomer. Mrs. Figg, their batty old neighbor, came panting into sight. Her grizzled gray hair was escaping its hairnet. A clanking string shopping bag was swinging from her wrists, and her feet were halfway out of their tartan carpet slippers. Harry made to stow his wand hurriedly out of sight, but
Don't put it away, idiot boy!
she shrieked.
What if there are more of them around? Oh, I'm going to kill Mundungus Fletcher!